This podcast contains detailed plot spoilers, adult language, and mature themes. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome back to a podcast of rare antiquities. Today we will continue to review Season 1 of Star Trek Picard. This is Episode 3. Welcome, Geoff. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How the heck are you?
Well, I started this one late. My fault. So family stuff. So all the good and the bad. So sorry about that, but here we are. So why don't we get right into this? So we're going to keep it short as we can. Give me your high-level thoughts. What'd you think?
I thought the episode was pretty okay. It's definitely suffering from, I think we observed this last two episodes, where it's really taken its time getting going. So it's nice to see that they actually got into space by the end of the episode. For a show called Star Trek, there has been very little trekking amongst the stars. So it's nice to see, even though it was right at the end, it's nice to see them going. I think we got our look at the entire main cast as well. So that's good, I guess.
Well, okay, so how about, since we've gotten a look at our main cast, so let's go through this. We got the captain. I don't know the name of the captain here. He has
the Wolverine looking motherfucker there.
Yeah, the Wolverine guy. Yeah. And his EMH that I believe looks exactly like him, but just obviously a different representation, a more polished, classy guy instead of the rough around the edges captain. We got Raffi, who's a former Starfleet officer. I guess even the captain's looks like he's former Starfleet, as Picard kind of made that discovery on his own. And Raffi has a history with Picard, and we still have the Alison Pill character. What's her name? Can't recall.
Dr. Robot. I don't remember.
Dr. Pill. So she's she's in the part of the crew.
Dr. Pill Robot. That's her name.
Dr. Pill Robot. And I'm not missing any. And that's it, right? And Picard. That's the crew so far, right?
I believe that is correct. Yes.
Okay. So why don't we talk about this the crew? Let's start with Raffi, because she has a history with Picard here. And the episode opens with a quick flashback of Picard still arguing with Starfleet about saving Romulan refugees from the destruction of Romulus. He goes into Starfleet. We don't see these events, but he comes out of it, and he bluffed on taking the resignation and, hoping to dare them into going ahead with the rescue mission. And they called his bluff and accepted his resignation. Comes out, tells Raffi, and she also gets called in by the CDC or something along those lines. And she also gets terminated for some reason. So we get this intro with Raffi and some of that backstory. What'd you think of the character in this backstory here?
Okay. So, I like Raffi. I think she's going to be a lot of fun. She seems really interesting. She's got some facets to her that I'm looking forward to explore. I mean, we've never seen anybody with a vape pen in the future until now. So I want to know what those flowers are that she's smoking. Those look pretty delightful. The scene, like the backstory was good. I don't, before I saw this scene, where he's like describing to her how his meeting went with Starfleet Command, I didn't think I needed to see the details of like his resignation, but I think that it helps a lot to get some context where it was a bluff and they called it. Like he never would have resigned. He just did it as like a last ditch resort because he's like, there's no way they're going to accept my resignation, and they did. So that adds some context to like what happened, why he isn't in Starfleet anymore. I think it makes a little bit more sense. Some of, it kind of makes redundant some of the things that we saw in the pilot where he, like the newscast, where they ask him why he resigned. And I feel like there's a lot that happened in this episode that we're talking, it's taken a while for them to get going. We're 3 episodes in and we're still kind of nowhere. Mm-hmm. So I feel like some of this stuff could have been wrapped up. Like we should have, like this is the stuff we need to be seeing 2 episodes ago.
Yes, I believe so.
I believe so. To where we are much quicker. Yeah. I mean, just talking about the characters, I liked her. I thought she was good.
Okay.
I dug it. And I thought it was a good scene.
Okay.
And I like that she has a nickname for him.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think I'm a fan of the JL.
JL on the DL. That's
GL
how
on
you
the
say it.
DL. That's right. So I'm not sure that would fly. I know Picard's a different person than he was on as a captain that we saw on the show in the movies. But he was still in Starfleet and he was an admiral when she's calling him this. So, we'll probably get a little bit more backstory. I don't think I need a backstory on like some mission where she's all of a sudden calling him JL. How she got to that point, but it just seems a little odd. An admiral, doesn't matter who it is, would deserve a bit more respect. But I mean, it's hard to determine how close these people are as friends. They seem to be friends, so I don't think that warmed me to her right off the bat. To be honest, I don't think she made a good first impression with me acting wise, which is unfortunate. But it's a TV show, so hopefully she warms up to me in the future. I do agree that she has the potential to be a fun character because she is rough around the edges. But we're going to get that also with the captain, it seems. And we got two clean-cut officers or people, which is more Picard and the Doctor. So it'll be an interesting batch that we're getting here. So what do you think about the Picard just bluffing his resignation? And he was surprised that they called him out on it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that's yeah. And this is something, I wrote some notes that there's this interesting twist to the character they have here is that Picard has some hubris and some vanity about him. And we've gotten that hint through the previous two episodes. We're getting it here again. That didn't seem to be a characteristic that Picard had before. And here it is in spades, 3 episodes in a row. Well, what do you think about that? You think this is an interesting facet to explore? Or do you think that the writing is this a problem with the writing and how they're portraying the character? Or do you think that this is going to be an interesting thing to explore here?
Yeah, I'm good with it. I think it's an interesting thing to explore. I like the fact that Picard and everybody else, they're not like Starfleet. Star Trek characters in general and Starfleet in particular are really stiff. Everybody's always very formal and very stiff. And that's always worked fine for the series that have come before because it was kind of a different era. So, but now as we get into the modern era of television, this is a more cinematic and character-driven type of show. We need some of these little foibles. Otherwise, I would worry that it would just be a little bit dull. He's not perfect. He was never perfect. And Picard always had an ego, and he always had that arrogant streak to him. He just kind of knew how to sort of navigate it. But it's always been a part of him. When he was a kid, it was a part of him then. And he obviously learned from all of that, but you don't get to be Jean Luc Picard without some hubris, without a little bit of swagger,
Well, okay, it's interesting. I can be good with it if they explore it. If they just throw it in there without character exploration, I'm not sure I am. Now, the only kind of hints we got in that, I believe, was more obviously when he was dealing with the Borg in First Contact. But outside of that, because that was more of a personal thing, is Q kind of called him out on that. Maybe not directly, but indirectly. And I never got a sense of that with the character. But okay, let's just move on. I mean, I'm just a little worried on how, if they're going to throw these things in, I'd like some meat. And I'd like for them to get into the weeds on how he's gotten this way. And maybe that's just natural as we get older. I have a question for you. Why was Raffi fired from Starfleet when Picard took the blame and he just said, I'll accept my resignation? So why is she terminated and blames him? I'm a little confused. I don't know if I only watched the episode once. Do you know why?
There was no reason given. Nothing. We don't see anything on screen as to why that happened.
Okay. So that's something.
It could be just my guess is that'll just be a thing that happened and that'll be that. So I don't know. Maybe we'll find out later.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully we will. Hopefully we'll
Yeah.
get a bit more backstory.
I don't know though. The thing is like I don't know that we need that explanation at this point. Like,
No, we don't. I think that's nitpicking this particular episode for sure. So how about we move on from Raffi? Now we're getting into the captain, and you see the ship. So she sets him up with this pilot, who's kind of a private. It's like that charter to Genesis. It's like Genesis. So that's fantastic. I needed a scene in the bar where Picard's like trying to give him the nerve pinch. That'd be fantastic. But
that would have been great.
So, but what do you think of the ship? And tell me what your first thoughts of the captain is here, because ships are very important when it comes to Star Trek. Yeah. So we get our first look on the interior. I can't recall the exterior. Yeah. I believe one faint shot of the exterior in my memory, but I remember the interior. Tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, though I thought the interior was fine. Like it looks like a good set. I'm fine with it. The exterior was kind of underwhelming, but it's not a pleasure yacht like the Enterprise D was. So I don't know. It's just kind of going to be what it is. I thought the interior was good, but not notable. Like it looks like a ship. It kind of looks like a ship out of the Avengers, to be honest with you. Like lots of
that's right. Actually, that's a very good.
And stuff.
Yeah, that's a very good comparison. It's the ship that they use on Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Very similar. Feels like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it looks. I mean, the set is fine, but you can tell completely that this show does not have the budget that Discovery does. Not even close. So at least so far, it's looking okay.
The production value is pretty good, though. Like the effects are good. I thought the set was good. I mean, it's a smaller. I don't want to say it's a smaller story, but it's more contained from a character perspective. Like it's not a Starfleet starship. So
no, for sure.
We need to take that, right?
I
think it probably has the same budget as Discovery. It's just 80% of it is Patrick Stewart's salary. So
that could be, but I think I'm not sure if you've been keeping track of I don't want to get into the weeds here. There's some financial struggles that CBS is having with Star Trek, and Netflix paid pretty much all of season 1 for Discovery, everything. CBS paid nothing. So CBS now is struggling with some of that revenue, and then they've greenlit Picard. And I have I just look at some of the effects when we get to the Borg Cube, for example, and as they're doing flybys and interior shots and things like that, it just looks a little rough around the edges. But that's just me. I think it'll be interesting to see if they're holding it off, saving some stuff for later episodes. But let's talk about the captain and his EMH here. What are your thoughts? I don't know if you got a name. I didn't get a name of the guy. What was his name?
I heard his name, but I just didn't write it down, so I don't know what it is. I'm sure we could just do a quick Googles on it, but I thought he was fine. Like he's okay. I guess I don't really have much of a opinion on him one way or the other. I liked his EMH, and are there 2 holograms? Like this, it's the same image because it's the same actor. But I got the impression it was like an EMH and then like a command. Like you remember that old Voyager episode where they were like testing out a command holographic program? No. I got the impression he had a second one.
I don't know. I'm assuming it's the same hologram. I didn't detect any difference. I could be wrong. You might have picked on something a bit more subtle and
he had a different accent or something, which was
no. The hologram has a different accent than the captain. But but I didn't see 2 different particular holograms. They were dressed the same. They looked the same. So
I could be wrong about that. I did watch it twice, and I thought I picked that up the second time. But either way, that's kind of a strange dynamic where the guy's like he's his own ship, and it's just him, and he's got a hologram that he's obviously programmed to look just like him, and he like hangs out with this hologram all the time. It's a bizarre dynamic. So it's kind of fun, but. We'll see if there's anything going on, like who this guy is, because they do just kind of throw him in to the mix at the end. Like they've done a pretty big job of like introducing all the other characters, making a big deal of it, and then they're like, oh, and by the way, this guy's also on the show. So I was like, he's got a cigar in his mouth, this fucking like piece of shrapnel sticking out of his shoulder. I was like, okay, sure, I'm into it.
Yeah, I'm a little confused how that shrapnel got there. I mean, they're trying to portray this captain as a badass and a tough guy, and Well,
Yeah, but that's how
okay.
that's a mission. You need to see every mission the guy's on. Like that's how it got.
No. I'm just saying. I think if you're going to portray the man as tough and rough around the edges, that can come across organically as we move through future episodes. We don't need to introduce him with, this to me screams they're trying to look at him. He's got like no shirt on or has a shirt partially ripped off. It's like a Captain Kirk kind of situation. It's like, oh, let's throw some shrapnel in there and make him tough right off the bat, right? I'm not a fan of that kind of writing.
Yes, but they need to use shorthand because we have 10 episodes,
that's right. But this is episode 3. Well, this is episode 3. That's plenty of episodes left. They've greenlit season 2.
Well, but so what? Like it's just it's a little detail. Like we don't need everything doesn't need to be explained. Like they can give us a hint and you can fill in the rest yourself.
Okay, I'm just not a fan of the way it's written, his introduction. But I think, character has promise. Again, this is for our introduction, so it's hard for us to talk more about these characters. I mean, this guy barely had any screen time. I did like the scene between him and Picard's trying to figure him out and says, oh, definitely, you are Starfleet. You keep this ship in pristine condition. Every bolt, every nail, there's no dust, no nothing. I kind of wish he did a Kirk thing with the napkin. Just like in Star Trek 2. Yeah. And he would just go across there and just look for the dust. I think that'd been fantastic. I want to point out one thing. My favorite shot of the show is Picard, or maybe second favorite shot, but is Picard walking past the captain's chair.
Yeah.
Looking at it. And then then he plops himself down in the other seat there. But that was great. Yeah. Okay, so how about let's talk now before we get into the Borg stuff. So we've got an attack on Picard's home from I believe the Doc Vaj is the name, and his household guests who are Romulan agents. They're badasses, but that the Romulans have higher strength capability, and they are former Tal Shiar, so they can handle themselves. So I like this little bitty action scene, and Alison Pill's character comes in, unfortunately, out of the blue to save the day. I like that Picard got a little bit into the action. It was more realistic because he can't be physical at this age, so he grabs a gun. I liked how everyone knew there were multiple guns. It's not just one pistol. It's it's like multiple under the desk.
They've got he's a heavily armed. It's like he's in a like a Louisiana militia or something. Like he's just got guns stashed under every table. Like in a secret pocket in every chair. Everywhere is armed up to the teeth. And I was wondering if they were always there, like they've been there for 15 years ever since he retired, or if did they just load up because some shit's going. Like I assume they loaded up because he already ran into the death squad when Dodge was killed. But I love the idea that there's just phasers all over the all over Chateau Picard. You buy a bottle of Chateau Picard, you get a free Romulan disruptor with every purchase.
Well, that's right. Well, I was just going to say, I was going to pull a Police Academy podium joke there, Bill Clinton kind of situation where the other one needs a weapon just in case underneath that desk. So I want to keep the show a little clean though. So, but I thought that was interesting. And then after that, when I think it's either before that scene or right after the scene, he's looking up at the stars, and I love that shot. It reminded me of a callback to when I think he describes himself as a kid looking up when he was a child wanting to join Starfleet and having those adventures. And then there's the shot about his nephew his Borg incident, and he goes back visits his brother, and then that's a great
who burned straight to death.
They burned to death with a fire. With a fire. These things happen.
It's all right. These things happen. And I presume at that very location, right?
Yeah, maybe one of those guns went off underneath the desk.
Yeah, maybe they've been there for decades, and a phaser overloaded and burned down the old Chateau Picard.
That's right.
It's dark.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm surprised one of the actors or the characters, the Romulans, didn't go with him. I figured that the lady was going to join the crew for sure.
I did too.
The guy was going to stay behind. So I thought that would have been interesting. Starting to warm up to her a little bit more, but that's okay. Maybe she'll join in later. So let's get to, I think, more of the interesting things in this show. And I'm hoping you can enlighten me on what's going on with Hugh and the Borg. It's great to see Hugh again. He looks awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
And for what I'm assuming as an actor who probably, I mean, I haven't looked at his IMDb credits or anything. I'm sure he's working fairly regularly, but he did a pretty good job from what I've seen so far. But I am 100% lost on what's happening here. Can you tell me?
I don't know. I do not. He does work. Actually, coincidentally, while I was waiting for the podcast, so I'm sitting and my spouse is watching one of her favorite trashy shows, which is NCIS. And so I'm just sitting there like waiting, and a new episode starts. And who do I see in the guest star list at the start of the show with Jonathan Del Arco? I'm like, it's Hugh. There he is. He does work. So he at least guest starred in an episode of NCIS and director of this reclamation project, right? So
it looks like it.
I think they say that. He's the director. He says it.
Well, I'll just let's pause for a second. Welcome Zignac, if that's we're pronouncing your name correctly. So not sure how to bring you
Zignac. Yeah.
Let's just pause. I don't know. Zignac, you can say anything? Welcome aboard.
Yeah. I thought, they do say he's the director because they try to go to one area and the
Zignac says hi.
Hey man, what's up? So they say like, this needs authorization. He's like, I'm the director. So he's the director of this project. I'm pretty sure that's explicitly spelled out, that Hugh's the director. We don't actually hear Hugh's name as far as I know. And I didn't recognize him at first. I was like, here's some guy. And then he was talking. I'm like, shit, is that Hugh? So that was pretty cool. But here's what I'm assuming. So we know that he must have some investment in these. So it's not just mining technology. I don't think I think they're actually trying to work to free these drones, like in a humanitarian sense, right? Like nobody there seems to be too nefarious. Nobody there seems to be too super duper evil. I mean, I know the Romulans have had their problems, but they've got lots of different races there, right? So yeah, I guess he's trying to reclaim these drones. To what end? If there is an end, I don't know. And then the Romulans got their fingers in this too. So
that's right. Well, what they make a point of saying in this episode here is that these particular Romulans who were in that room that they were observing, who were assimilated and who seem to be they can't or having issues or they're just observing, they are the first Romulans that ever have been assimilated by the Borg.
Right.
At least that's what they're telling us in the show.
That's what she said. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and they're having, I'm not sure if they're able to break away from the collective, or because this collective was separated, they are having additional difficulty bringing them back and reclaiming them. And we still don't even know what this reclaiming means outside of reclaiming tech, which is all we know. We know that there are Borg people on board doing tasks. Whether they have free will or not, we still don't understand. So I think the show will hopefully give us some insight into that.
Yeah, we'll see what I mean, it's not clear what's happening, but it's not supposed to be clear yet at this point what's going on. I think that they would attempt to give them free will because like they freed those Romulans and they're basically they're like in an asylum, basically. Like they're not all there. They haven't recovered from their experience. So it could be that they're not adapting well to not being part of the collective. Like who knows, right? Maybe even 7 of 9 didn't deal all that well with it when she was released from the collective. Like there's so much we don't know, and I can only assume that it's part of the story. Mm-hmm. And they're talking about that shared, like that Romulan mythology. It makes me remember that Voyager stuff where the Borg had, like when they dreamed, they had like a place that they would go to in the collective where they would kind of revert to their unassimilated selves, but they would forget every morning when they woke up. That's what a lot of that reminded me of.
Yeah, well, it felt like a cuckoo's nest kind of situation there. So,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm just hoping that, right now they have an idea on the story and they're not just throwing a random scene here. I really hope they have a through line where they're going to go with this. I'm assuming they do. They have to. So
yeah, this is clearly a major part of the story.
Yeah. What do you think now? I don't think we got any more development with Soji and Narek there. And we got more Commander O approaching the Dr. Allison Pill character Apologize for forgetting her name. Yeah. So interesting thing, I didn't think of this. I read it online. Is I really hope they're not going to get it messy and she's going to be part of this parallel universe situation. Because
dark. Yeah, because they have that sensitivity to light, right, from the mirror universe there.
Yeah, because we've only seen her indoors. I don't think that's the case. I think they're just...
No, I don't think so. I think they were just being playful there.
Yeah, I hope so.
People still wear sunglasses. Why wouldn't they? It's bright and sunny out.
Yeah, first Starfleet officer I've seen wear sunglasses, at least I think.
Yeah, so, and a Vulcan. Boot.
Yeah.
So
except for Geordi's killer visor, which he always wears every day.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course. And it is a killer visor.
Yeah, that's right. So I agree with you. I really don't have anything more to add on what's going on with Hugh and the Borg, except I loved seeing Hugh over there. Welcome, Sophia 1990, to the podcast. And just letting you guys know that we, for these reviews, we just do a quick 30, 35 minutes. So you're kind of coming in at the end here. So, but if in the future, if you want to, we can give me your email. We can send you guys an invite in the future whenever we do these things if you want to join us. Anyways, Geoff, I hope we find out a little bit more what's going on here.
I mean, we got 7 episodes to go, and it's gonna unravel. But what did you? So the Romulans. Just to go back to the action scene at Chateau Picard, where the Romulan Death Squad unsuccessfully tried to kill an old man and his 2 housekeepers. So the one guy eats his poison pill, but before that, he calls Soji the Destroyer. So what did you make of that situation? There seems to be some...
Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Well, okay. So you remember the Chateau, the action scene, right? They capture the one Romulan alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
The big dude, and he eats one of those acid pills. But before that, he says the girl's not what you think she is.
Oh, she's the Destroyer. That's right.
She's the Destroyer. So what do you make of that? What's going on with that situation? It's not just their hatred of synthetics that's coming through. This is a serious situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a serious situation. I mean, I don't know. This all goes back to what they're name dropping before, is that they're saying the Romulans have a very adverse reaction to artificial intelligence, which I don't really know why. They have to kind of explore that a little bit more, because you would think that a race as highly intellectual as the Romulan Empire would not be adverse to AI. And they would want to exploit this to its greatest potential, for military purposes, especially because their homeworld has been destroyed. So they would probably want to investigate and research this kind of tech, and they'd want to get more involved there. Maybe that's a way of saving their race. And I'm wondering if this is where another avenue the show might go is, unfortunately, just, like we talk about with, some of these Terminator parallels, where we talk about the Terminators coming back and destroying mankind. But there was always that possibility, especially in the unfortunate shitty movie, even though it had the nice little through line there, what was Genesis, where it had John Connor merged with tech, and that was one potential future there for mankind. And our own natural evolution of humanity, that might be one of our futures, where we may have to have some kind of very minor soft combination with technology in order to maintain our survival.
All right, Geoff, looks like we had some kind of technical issue. The recording did not work for the last 10 minutes, so we're just going to re-record this bit. So I think we left off talking about what's happening on the Borg cube with Soji and Hugh and those Romulan Borgs, or, former Borgs, and one of them was pointing towards Soji, saying she's the Destroyer. What are your thoughts on this scene? Do you know what's going on here?
No, I do not. I mean, there's there seems to be some kind of, I don't know, they were talking about like a shared mythology, but these are the last, these Romulans are the only Romulans ever assimilated as far as they know, right? And these are the last these are the last people assimilated by that cube, right? So that's what presumably caused the whatever system failure, right? On this
Oh,
ship. Yes?
So maybe. I'm not sure. Did they say that in the episode? I mean, that's a fantastic twist if it's the Romulans that caused the system failure. So
I don't think they didn't say that specifically, but they did say that those Romulans were the last people assimilated by this cube. Mm-hmm. And the only Romulans ever assimilated. So it did seem to me that that was relevant in some case for some reason. So I don't know, it made me think of like that sort of shared fantasy that they introduced it on Voyager. I know you haven't seen or as familiar with Voyager, but Seven and other Borg, like they had like this refuge that they would go to when they were in their like regeneration pods.
No, I remember that. It was kind of like a dreamlike state, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they wouldn't remember when they would awaken as drones, but then they'd go back sort of whatever, if it was every night or whatever. So it just, maybe it's a coincidence, but it just made me remember that about it. So I wonder if there's something there with those Romulans, because they were talking about that shared mythology.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about, okay, so what about Soji being the destroyer? They freak out when they kind of snap out of it a little bit. That one Romulan lady sees the former Borg, sees Soji, and just tries to steal a phaser, does steal a phaser, and just wants to shoot her, saying she's the destroyer. And I think before, one of those Romulan agents of the Doc Vaj, or whatever they're called, they also said the same thing to Picard. So
yeah, that's right. The guy who took the poison pill.
So what's your thoughts here? What does this all mean? Like, let's just venture a guess, if you can.
Well, I guess there's a couple ways you could approach it. I mean, obviously we know that the Romulans have this, especially this sect of the Tal Shiar, the Doc Vaj. Is that what they're called?
I'm guessing so. Yes. I'm confused between the Doc Vaj and there's another thing they say in the show. I can't remember. But anyways, let's just assume. Yeah.
Be the Tal Shiar, like.
Yeah, they just should. They should just be the Tal Shiar. Anyways.
Yeah. I mean, so the one way you could look at that one is that, like, they have a real aversion to AI, as we've been told. So it could be as simple as that. Feels like that's not enough of an explanation. That she's the destroyer, like, it has this, like, ominous sort of mythological connotation to it, but, you know, she's a brand new constructed life form, so what are they seeing? It's
like the Stonecutters and Homer.
Yeah, totally, yeah. This is the No Soji's Club.
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't know, man. What about you? Like, what did you pull out of that? It's a little, I hate to use the term, I think it's a unfairly maligned term, but it's a little bit mystery box.
Yeah, it's mystery box. I don't mind them trying to set up mystery box. You know, the funny thing is we haven't even mentioned that, you know, who are the showrunners here? It's Kurtzman, who is former Robot Chicken, you know, holding hand in hand with Mr. Abrams there in the past. So
Bad Robot, you mean?
Yeah, Bad Robot. Yeah, that's right. So
well, yeah. He's one of the overlords, but the showrunner is Michael Chabon, right? He's the showrunner. He's a novelist. He didn't have anything to do with the Abramses.
No, but then you also have Akiva Goldsman mixed into all this too, I believe.
Yeah, that is true.
So I guess we'll pass judgment on those guys if the show does not pan out at the end of the season. So we'll talk about them later. So give them a fair shake. But yeah, I don't really know what's going on here, because I think right now it's a little weak sauce for me, again, to believe that the Romulans would have such aversion to AI or synthetic life. Mm-hmm. So for them to kind of concoct a whole story around this concept, and it almost feels like they wanted to do something just to link Picard to Data, or a reason for Picard to get off his, butt and leave the vineyard, and they had to find a strong enough reason for him to do that. And they're linking the connection between him and Data, which makes sense. I mean, that was a traumatic experience for him from Nemesis, that Data gave his life to save his. So that's an organic evolution of the character, but it just feels like now, because it's all about Data and synthetic life forms, that they're making a whole species who's now far into the future. This is the Romulans, or any species. I don't know why they would be so adverse to AI and synthetic life. So it has to be more developed. It isn't developed yet. So I'm hoping they go there, but I don't understand what this all is.
Yeah.
So, cause this can't just be as simple as Terminator, Skynet situation, like synthetics are just gonna ruin all of mankind, or humankind, or biped kind, or whatever you want to call it, right? So, it has to be deeper than that, and hopefully they'll explore that later. But right now I have no clue.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. It feels like it's, I mean, they've retconned a lot of things that they, in Star Trek, like that's nothing new, so I can give them a break, but because the Romulans have been such major players in the past, to introduce this new facet of their culture where they hate AI and synthetic life so much, like you feel like that's a big thing. So you feel like that,
yeah,
we would have heard about that before, right?
Well,
so
100%, because they would use this information and any of this tech to their advantage. And they're in a desperate situation here with the loss of their home world. So whatever military powers that are remaining, whether it's the secret, institution, or it's just part of their regular military, they would want to use whatever they know, whatever this is, to their advantage. I mean, so it's just very strange. I just don't, it doesn't fall into place yet, and hopefully it will.
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't fall into place yet, but I'm hopeful that they know what they're doing. Like I know what you say about like the executive producers. I know we've got Kurtzman heavily involved, and his style of storytelling is very like the overarching mythology style of the JJs and all of that. But that being said, I know Patrick Stewart's heavily involved with it, and he like helped break the stories, and he's a producer as well. So, he only came back if he had a certain amount of creative control. So hopefully those players are smart enough to know how to bring everything in together. So I guess we'll see, we'll see. Yeah.
That's right. So how about we finish off this podcast with just the last scenes, which cuts back to the ship. And we have Agnes, who has beamed up to the ship with Picard. And Raffi's also surprisingly there for Picard. She wants to go to Free Cloud. She says she found out where Maddox is. He's on this place called Free Cloud. Mm-hmm. And she just wants to hitch a ride there, and after that she's gone. And you have Agnes saying she wants to be there because she's the leading expert in synthetics, and probably wants to find Maddox as well. So what's your thoughts on all this? These scenes here, and then you get the nice little Picard giving the signal, engage, and let's roll. So nice little cue back to the series. What do you think of these closing scenes here?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Obviously we're getting the gang together and we're going. Raffi's sort of abrupt turn there, I guess, is a little surprising. We didn't really see too much out of her. Like, it didn't look like she was going anywhere. So I don't know. I'll assume something's going on there. I didn't think too much of Agnes. Like, maybe you're right. Like, it doesn't quite fit that she's coming along now. She's not really, that doesn't seem like an adventurous type of character, but I knew she was on the show, so maybe my brain was just like not even thinking about why she's coming along. I just knew she's on the show, so I just was like, she's going to show up, So I guess we'll see. But great to see Patrick Stewart deliver the engage. A little forced, but I'm okay with it.
No, it was a nice little callback. Nice. So yeah. It's good. It's just, he didn't even look at the Captain Rios or
Rios.
He's now called Rios for the rest of the
Rios.
Riot. So Rios. So he didn't even look at him. It's just like Rios looks up at him and just okay, I'll say it. Yeah. It's just a nice little thing for the fans. Yeah. So that's nice.
Oh, absolutely. He had to do it at least once.
At least once. Well, it is his mission. It's his charter, I guess. So
I guess, he is in charge. Like, he hired everybody. I don't know how he's paying in bottles of the 2357 or whatever, maybe, but
that's it. He signed over all rights to 2357.
All the rights to 2357. I hope it's good vintage.
Yeah, that's right. So finally they're off into space, which is what we've wanted after 3 episodes. So it's a promising, the episode ends on a positive note there, and looking forward to next time. So overall, Geoff, what are your thoughts this episode?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was fine. Like, it's not, again, it feels like they're taking a long time to get going here, and I wish that, we finally get to space at the end of the 3rd episode. It would have been nice to get going sooner than this, but again, Patrick Stewart's there, man. He does a lot to class up a joint, so he, I liked Raffi, and Rios he looks like he's going to be fun, so yeah, it was okay. It's nice. It's good to get to space with the gang.
It's finally going, and I feel the same way. It took a while to get here, but at least now, it's taking time to set things up. Now we can move on, and that's good. So, it's 3 episodes done. It's a lot of exposition and backstory. Hopefully, the next episode and future episodes get this ball moving. So
yeah, right.
All right, well, I guess that does it for today, Geoff. We will continue doing this next week, and I will see you then.
Looking forward to it, man.
All right, take it easy.
Yeah.
All right.